Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be doing my post-fight show for UFC Vegas 113 Bautista versus Oliveira. Overall, I would say the first fight night of 2026 got off to an all right start. It felt very much like an Apex event, but of a higher quality, definitely a larger crowd. I could hear the crowd much more in this than any Apex I've ever seen for good reason. The Meta Apex is now, supposed to be bigger. And, I thought overall the production was still of a good quality, like the pre-fight show, or I guess I'd say the preview to the main event, the cold opens, all of that. I thought the production is still of a much higher quality. And, I don't think, obviously we're 3 events in and, maybe I'm kind of reaching, but I mean, I can tell Paramount cares more. They promote these better. Their like fight trailers are better. Everything about this Paramount era just feels of a higher quality. It feels like they care much more than ESPN ever did, in my personal opinion. Obviously, 3 cards in, what's to say? It's a little too soon to tell, but that's just what I think so far. But with that said, overall, I give the card a solid 6 out of 10. There were some good fights. There were some good bangers on the card, I thought. Some nice finishes. The finishes in this fight, while there weren't that many, only 4, I thought were great. But then there were also some fights, specifically 2, that just kind of drained the energy out of the whole event for me. And then there were some like low fight IQ moments that were hair pulling, but I'll get to those fights when I do. Like I said, overall, I thought the card was all right. In terms of predictions, I went great on this card. I went 11-2 out of 13 fights, really good. That brings also the total of predictions right and predictions wrong so far to 29-8, and just in 3 events. I'd say that's a pretty good way to start off the year, more if I do say so myself. But without further ado, let's get down to our post-fight show. For our main card opener, Claudia Segula defeats Priscilla Cachoeira via unanimous decision. This fight can be summed down pretty simply. Segula, now training at ATT, similar to her fellow countrywoman Joanna Jędrzejczyk many years ago, clearly has improved much better in terms of how she deals with adversity, her ability to, her shot selection, and her ability to move. Now, Priscilla Cachoeira, she fought exactly like she always does. Press forward, take a bunch of damage, and then lance on her own. You could see, she was the shot-for-shot harder hitter, because I thought when she did land on Segula, there was a bit more of a reaction. But at the end of the day, though, when the final bell got rung, it was Cachoeira's face was the one that was such a bloody mess. You could literally see, she was wearing white, so you saw where she smeared the blood. How red it turned. It literally started turning like she was wearing red, not white. And I thought Segula, I thought she specifically that hook she threw after the end of her combinations was easily her best shot of the fight. Whether it was just a open hook, whether she didn't set it up, or just fired off a jab cross hook, it didn't really matter, as that was definitely Segula's best. That was her best weapon by far in this fight. And even then, her lateral movement I thought was pretty good. Obviously, she ate some leg kicks and they were kind of bugging her, but I thought overall her movements were very nice. The only thing that drove me crazy, though, was I thought if Cachoeira threw a intercepting body kick, right? Like Segula, she's constantly circling, whether it's to her left or to her right, but she's constantly circling. I figured, Cachoeira just throws an intercepting body kick and she'll hit her all day. But nope, didn't happen. Unfortunately, at Cachoeira, you know what you're going to get. She's a known quantity, a brawler through and through, and some okay forward pressure, but at the end of the day, not the same technical movement you would hope for. And she paid for it. She got picked apart. So where they go from here, I think this might be Cachoeira's walking papers. Like, this would make her 1-4 in her last 5, and I don't really see what other opponent she could fight at this point, because, no offense to Segula, but she was kind of the lower tier at women's bantamweight. Obviously, this win bumps her up a bit in the divisional hierarchy, but not by much. But still, I think this might be the pink slip for Cachoeira. As for Segula, That's two straight, not against the best opposition, but it's a nice win streak week that she's putting together now. And she certainly improved since in her time in ATT, and that's for sure. I don't want her to fight in the rankings yet. Obviously, if she does, then Misha Tate is the only thing I can make sense of. But I can't really think of anyone else besides Chelsea Chandler. She's still in the UFC. But that's about the only ones I can really think for Segula. Slowly build her up. Don't rush this. So that's what I think. Moving up, this one was the craziest for me. Jakub Whitlack. That's how they pronounce it. It's very hard for me to pronounce it, but I'm going to do my best. Defeats Muin Gafurov via mounted guillotine in the third round. Literally a buzzer beater submission. Might even be the latest submission because it happened as the bell rung, basically. So when I predicted this fight, this was one of the tougher fights because Whitlack, his striking is super unorthodox, not very any clean technique. He's kind of like the bantamweight RDR in many ways. He's very tall and lanky for the division. Very, very unorthodox striking, specifically with his kicks, right? He'll throw a lot of teep kicks to the body and head, some jumping kicks, some knees to the body, and sometimes those lunging right hands. And then during all the fight week, when I find out Gafurov misses weight by 6 pounds, or technically 5 pounds, I'm nervous as hell because that is going to make Whitlack have such a tough time controlling Gafurov if he weighs that much, not having to cut those extra 5 pounds. And it kind of showed because I actually thought Jakub lost the first round, but apparently the judges all gave him the first, which I was a little surprised. But as someone who was picking him, I was quite happy about that. So though, Gafurov had really good body-head combinations. You saw it in that fight. He was very explosive, very, very good at picking his shots. But you could see when he would try a lot of the spinning back fists or spinning wheel kicks, those got him caught a lot in the clinch by Jakub, and usually Jakub would immediately hit him with knees to the body, which I love to see. Honestly, this is the most I've ever seen two fighters attack the body consistently. There's always a fight where you can think, okay, this guy attacks the body a lot. Not really the case with both guys, and that I thought was more impressive to me. And then in the second round, I believe it was Gafurov, firing a takedown, and Jakub immediately jumps guard for the guillotine because he is a very good submission artist. He doesn't fully get the sub, but he's able to reverse positions and get on top of Gafurov via mounted in mount. You could see instantly that the level of grappling ability is clearly Jakub, and Jakub is a very good grappler, very good positionally as well. That's why I'm also saying he's the bantamweight RDR, because his grappling is very technical. His striking is not. It is not. But still, Jakub had a great second round, nearly got a few submission ins, whether it was that guillotine and then that rear naked choke at the end of the first. It showed he's got good submissions. And then finally the third round comes, and it was not looking good for Jakub, as Gafurov was consistently hitting good body head combinations. You could see Jakub was getting very tired, and those body shots were affecting him greatly. And eventually, I thought it was like Jakub was going to lose the decision. Like I said, I thought Gafurov won the first and was going to win the third. But then Gafurov makes the mistake of a lifetime in this fight. He goes for an unnecessary takedown. Jakub is able to jump guard, kind of jock for position, rolls to mount, and gets the mounted guillotine. And you could see 10 seconds left. Gafurov is struggling. He's at first does a thumbs up, and you could see, I never knew this, but apparently some fighters will adjust their mouth guard to help with a choke. I don't know why. If you know, please tell me. But then Gafurov, you see him tap. Literally 1 second left in the third round. The bell starts to ring, and I was screaming at my TV like, "Yeah, he tapped, yes!" I got it right. I pulled that pick off by the skin of my teeth. Obviously, they had to review so then they reviewed the tape though to make sure, did he tap before, after or right at the buzzer. And then I thought it was clear as day, though. He tapped before the bell, and it was determined he did. So Jakob wins his second UFC fight via literal fight ending guillotine. That's really good for Jakob, and and he's now undefeated in the UFC 2-0. Now, I really am interested to see how far he can go. Like I said, he's the bantamweight RDR, and I'm curious to see if that sort of style can work in a weight class that's much more technical and where everyone's just good everywhere. I'm definitely curious to see how that all works out for him. So, who should he fight next? I'd love to see him and Rene Nakamura. I don't think they'll do that just because both are more or less prospects when it comes to the division, or at least they're relatively new. But I'd really like to see how Nakamura's wrestling goes against Jakob's grappling. I want to see that for sure. But I don't think, like I said, I don't think they'll make that fight. So I guess Orichi Long would make the other sense. As for Gafurov, you better, he's got to dial in that weight cut, dude. I don't think he would be good at featherweight. But if you're looking for a fun fight with him, I mean, you got a few options at bantamweight. And maybe Javid Basharov wouldn't be a terrible idea. Or maybe not even Ricky Simone, either, who's coming off a loss. Either way, there's some fights for both men, but let me tell you, I was quite happy about that prediction. Moving up on the card, Kong Wang, or Wong Tong, as they were calling it in the announcer's booth. I'm just going to say Wang. Defeats Eduardo Mora via unanimous decision. Clear 29-28. I thought whatever judge gave Wang 30-27. I don't understand how. I thought this was actually a good fight. I was kind of laughing because of just how color coded they were. Like Wang was all red, right? Red tape, red clothing, red hair, while Mora yellow, and then that pure, seemingly silver-esque hair kind of looked like Lamos in a sense. I was kind of laughing at it, not because I thought it was insulting them, but I just thought it was kind of funny. I think Wang showed that she is improving slowly but surely. Obviously, only 10 pro fights into her career. She's obviously going to improve, and there's obviously going to be some holes in her game. But I thought she did well against a very aggressive grappler who, was a strawweight who, granted, a strawweight who had missed weight and was definitely a bigger fighter than anyone I thought Wang had faced at the time. And in the first round, I thought Wang had a great strategy. Probe with her lead hand and then fire off her rear hand to the body. And she was doing that a few times against Mora. And you could see, though, Mora was immediately trying to pressure Wang to the fence. And she had some success in the first round getting the body lock and trying to go for a takedown. Obviously, I know Wang grabbed the cage somewhat. Excuse me. But still, I thought overall her balance was pretty good. And it seems definitely that the Uriah Faber camp was helping her a great deal in keeping her balance. And then as they're back on the feet, Wang does some more of those rear hands to the body. I think Imora was really starting to get affected by them because she started to dip down to intercept them and cracked her and dropped Imora. It looked like Wang was about to get her out of there, but Imora gets a heel hook and is able to survive for the rest of the round. Second round, it's all Eduardo Mora. Goes after her immediately, or Wang immediately gets the body lock, goes for a sacrifice throw, which I believe is you just get a tight waist on them, you fall, but you drag them with you, and then you roll to top position. And then from there, it was basically a war more the entire round. Not too much danger, I would say, but eventually she's able to get the back, nearly gets a rear naked choke, and I was like, I was so nervous because I picked Wang, and I was screaming like, fight the hands, what are you doing? And somehow punching more in the face worked, because I guess, Mora's face, or specifically her nose, was so busted that it made the grip slick. Then the third round hits is obviously 1-1, and Wang did much more. She was definitely the fresher fighter. You could see Mora was tired, and even now she's in a new weight class. She's not having to cut as much weight. It seems that she always Mora tends to fade in the third round. It just seems to be, her cardio just seems to be the biggest issue. And Wang was kind of putting it on her. I mean, by the end of the fight, after Wang had essentially beat Mora up went for her own like neck crank / rear naked choke. Didn't get it, but still. Uh, it more looked like she got into a car accident, or I mean, she looked like a lady who got into a fight. Good God, she was pretty busted up, I would say. So though, this is a good win for Wang. On such a persistent grappler and coming through in the end. Showed some pretty good takedown defense, I thought. Some questionable decisions though, like going for the rear naked choke when you had an opportunity to win via TKO. I don't know why strikers do this, where they follow their opponent to the ground instead of just let them up, since they're battering them on the feet. I don't know, it's just one thing that seems to plague MMA strikers, is kind of crazy. But still, it didn't cost her too much in the end, and she still gets the win. Now, where they go is kind of interesting for me, because they're both ranked in women's flyweight 12 and 13 respectively. I was originally when Jessica Andrade was ranked, I was thinking Wang would make the most sense. But if you're going to get her to go up the rankings, it's either going to be, it can't be anyone in the top 5. And I don't think Jasmine Jasovich would be a good idea, because obviously I think the interesting plant is to get Wang to the top as soon as possible because of the history she has with Shevchenko. So I'd say Karine Silva, because she has the same issues as Moore. She tends to fade in the third. Or even a Rose Namajunas fight isn't a bad idea if you're looking for a technical striking match, especially because I could see Rose maybe not pivoting towards her grappling. Still, there's some chances for her. As for Waramura, I don't think she should be too disheartened by the loss. She put up a valiant effort for sure, I thought. Obviously, the sets her back a bit. Yeah, but still, I don't think it's anything too bad. And there's still some fights for her. She might have to defend her ranking, though. As for who, I'm not sure off the top of my head. But still, I think she'll be fine. I still think Waramura should be fine, relatively speaking. Hey, I thought it was good fight for the ladies. Moving up on the card. Jafid Bashrat beats Gideon Vasquez via unanimous decision. So I didn't actually make a video for this fight. By the time this fight had announced, Thursday, I had already made my Saeed versus Bashrat fight. But I had, and obviously, I can only tell you who I thought was going to win, and you can or cannot believe me. That is up to you. But I did pick Bashrat to win. I thought I can't pick a guy on 2 days' notice, especially when that guy missed weight. And I will say, Vasquez had a great debut in a loss against a pretty technically skilled fighter. I thought he had a great debut, and all things considered, his debut reminded me a lot of how Diego Lopez's went. Didn't win, but showed a ton of heart, showed a lot of great technical skill, and had a lot of moments. Hell, he won the second round. Dropping Basharat, and had a few tight submissions too. Vasquez, he's very good off his back. He's got very good submissions. Trains with like Ricky Simone and them. And you could see it. He's got good boxing. Obviously, Basharat hurt him in the first round, and Basharat was looking pretty slick and was looking like the guy who was remaining undefeated for a good period. But then the moment he got rocked, the moment he got dropped, you could see, I don't think it's a confidence issue as much as like just getting shell shocked, I guess is the best way to put it. Because it seems when Basharat gets hurt, it's like something shuts and he's not as active as he was. Now, he won the third round, mostly purely based off top control. Oh, and Vasquez was unfortunately not able to do much from the bottom. And, obviously he missed weight. That does play a factor. But I give him a pass because it was 2 days' notice and it really should have been a catch weight. But still, Basharat clearly won the fight. But again, it wasn't the greatest performance, if you know what I mean. Now, where they go from here, I feel like it's obvious that, or maybe it's obvious to me, but I feel like just a rebooking of the Saeed fight that made the most sense for how both of those two were and their point of their careers. And I'm sure they can get a chance when they either in the States or probably in the Middle East. But still, I think Jafid Basharat and Saeed Nurmagomedov rebooking. As for Vasquez, he's a fun guy. He's actually the first and only person to beat David Martinez, and we know how good he is. So that is a huge feather in his cap. And I'm not saying he's going to go far in the bantamweight division, but he's a fun addition to the bantamweight division. And shoot, I'd love to see him against the winner of who is it? Archie Letta. No, not Archie Letta. Who is fighting again? I don't remember. Yeah, the winner of Santiago Luna and Angel Pacheco. I want to see him fight the winner of those, or maybe even not Adrian Yanez. That'd be too much too soon. But maybe the winner of Chris Butunos and Queen Quinones. I'd say those two. Just kind of give him a easier opponent to see how he does. Because still, great debut for him, I thought. Who would up the card? Ah. Ketlin Souza defeats Bruna Brazil via unanimous decision, 29-28 across the board. So this was one of the two fights that kind of drained the energy for me. Like the first four fights I thought were very fun and pretty back and forth, pretty entertaining. This one I thought drained the energy because both of these two showed the IQ of squirrels, I thought. Their fight IQ was peanuts. Excuse me. So here's the thing. To be honest, I thought that Ketlin Souza's way to victory was to pressure Bruna Brazil, getting close in the pocket and the clinch, and then go from there. I didn't expect Souza to wrestle as much as she did, and quite annoyingly too, because to be honest, Souza was barely able to get Brazil. I think she got one takedown in out of all in that entire fight. Meanwhile, Brazil had also moments that made me question it because first round she had absolutely perfect intercepting knees to the body. They were beautiful to watch. It was the same thing she did to Molly McCann in her fight with her. And then after the first round, Brazil just stopped using them for some reason. I don't know what it was. But still, the biggest thing that plagues Bruna Brazil to this day is just her lack of activity and seemingly just super passive fighting style. Like, it's fine to be passive, like you can circle around the cage, pick your shots. That's fine. It works for a lot of athletes. But there's still some level of aggression still, and there's still some intent to do damage. Literally, there's moments where Souza is fixing her shorts and Brazil does nothing. Now, obviously, you can say, "Oh, it's sportsmanship." All right, fine, I'll give you that. But you're in a fight. Let's say, this is a third round. You could be down 2 rounds. It could be 1-1. Why are you hesitating? Attack, attack, attack. That's what I think. Now, again, you can say sportsmanship. That's fine, but you cannot literally take a moment to basically go pause and then fix something when you're in the middle of engagement. Now, that said, I thought Souza did it when Souza had the most success was exactly what I thought she was going to do the whole fight, boxing in the pocket. Specifically when she landed, I believe it was a left hand. It hit the right eye of Bruna Brazil. And you could see that eye was bothering her throughout the entire second and third round. And then Souza was just simply the more aggressive fighter. That's what got her the win. Again, though, a lot of clinch exchanges that I thought weren't helping at all. And for some reason, Souza just kept doing it. But still, she gets the win, and that's kind of another like prediction I got right. I was not pleased by it because it felt unnecessarily difficult. Like, she chose the path of hardest resistance, I thought, because I thought Souza just would do much better if she just pocket box, not clinch consistently. And then again, Bruna Brazil just stopped using the weapon that was the most effective and probably would have won her the fight, to be honest. Now, where they go from here, I don't know. For Souza, she's back in the win column, and this was someone who was close to the rankings when she fought Angela Hill. I'm not saying she goes back into the rankings, but it is a nice win, Bruna Brazil, because Brazil's pretty good, and usually the only people to beat her are either ranked contenders or pretty close to the rankings. So I guess for Souza, Julia Pilastri, I want to say that fight. Pilastri literally TKO'd Carolina Cavalcantage. Very aggressive. Both of these girls are tough as nails. Very good strikers when they want to be. Well, I say that for Souza, not Pilastri. And both are just going to walk their opponents down, and they don't care what's coming at them. They're going to keep fighting. That'd be a very interesting fight. As for Bruna Brazil, she might come back to flyweight considering she fought Kong Wang in the weight class, but I think she's better at strawweight, to be honest. But this is a step back in the wrong direction for her. I could say that for certain. Still, though, I think maybe she fights the winner of Piera Rodriguez and Sam Hughes. That honestly might make the most sense for Brazil because either one, especially if she fights Sam Hughes. I would definitely want to see if she can handle that forward aggression as well, because Sam Hughes is, I think, a better wrestler and much better with her pressure than Souza was. So I think I would prefer that. But that is if Sam Hughes beats Pierre Rodriguez. Moving up. Nikolai Vernatenikov TKOs Nico Price in the very first round. Not a long fight, and obviously this was a Nico Price who was basically coming off the couch, about 5 days notice. And boy, it showed. Like, Nico Price, I thought, was trying to have some moments. I don't think he had too much success. He landed maybe a few strikes on Vernatenikov. But the moment Nikolai was able to press Price against the fence, he essentially landed 3 knockout shots in perfect sequence. First, it was a right hand that really stumbled Price bad. Grabbed the head, slammed him with the left knee, and I'm pretty sure that was the knockout blow. But to finish it up, he lands a slashing elbow on the dome of Price, and from there, Price is out. He is out. The only thing keeping him up is that his fingers happen to be in the cage or in the fence at the time. That's literally the only thing keeping Price up, because he then starts getting wailed on. And thank God Chris Tione stopped it when he did, because I thought if that kept going, Price was just going to get more brain damage. And then you could see how bad Price was knocked out. He's literally talking to nobody in the side of the cage, but it looks like he's having a full-blown conversation like, yeah, I'm all right. How you doing? He's literally just talking to the angels. That was a great win for Vernatenikov, because if I thought he lost, it was the pink slip for sure. I thought, why is he still in the UFC? But a loss to Price now would definitely have gone terribly for him. Excuse me. So it's a good. So this is exactly what Vernatenikov needed. Obviously, I still don't think he's going to do much in the welterweight division, unfortunately. But it is such a stacked weight class. It's just how it is for him. That being said, I think Vernatenikov can still beat some fighters in this division. I'm not saying he can't beat anybody, or sorry, can't beat anybody. He still got, so he has definitely improved his striking for sure, but I still feel like he's going to make some mistakes. I just didn't trust Nico Price's chin, and I was right to doubt it. So who these two should fight next? I say Nikolai. Honestly, give him Danil Donchenko, since they both fought on this card, and that's honestly a good test for Donchenko, who's coming up next. But if not him, damn, fucking welterweight is so stacked, dude. It's crazy. I'm thinking maybe Reese McKee, if he's still in the UFC. That would be an interesting fight. As for Nico Price, I strongly consider retirement. I don't want to see him fight anymore. He's taking way too much damage. And I'm not even going to matchmake. I want to see him retire. Moving up on the card. Our feature prelim. Danil Donchenko defeats Alex Morono via unanimous decision. 230-26 and 130-27. I'm a little surprised one judge didn't give round 1 a 10-8. I guess because it was just one huge moment. That being Donchenko drops Morono bad and then mauls him from there. But even then, considering he nearly had Morono out of there a few times during that flurry, I'm a little surprised one of the judges didn't score a 10-8. Excuse me. In comparison to the other two. So, though, this is a kind of performance that I feel like shows Donchenko's age, right? He's still just 24. He's very young. And while he has a good number of fights right now, 15, and he's still, like I said, 24, he still has such room to grow. And again, one of the savvier welterweights and someone who's been around the block a few times. I guess that's tend to happen. Now, obviously, being an 800 favorite and not getting the finish could be disheartening to if you're like a better or just someone very high on him. I personally can see the positives as like going 3 rounds with a good, gritty veteran in Morono. And in the end of the day, Donchenko won every round convincingly. And he had great moments. Those leg kicks specifically were chopping Morono up, man. I mean, you could see it in like the third, in between rounds 2 and 3 when Morono was in his corner. He was saying, it hurts. I can barely walk. You can see it. He barely was able to walk by the end of the fight. And I thought Donchenko, at times when he was just throwing straight shots, had much better success, like that hook as Morono was trying to exit. And even then, some of his spinning stuff was kind of working, whether it was the elbows off the break, spinning back elbow, that busting Morono in the lip right there. Now, obviously, Morono had a few moments to himself, specifically in the third round when he started to land some boxing combinations and where Donchenko was clearly tired. But even then, they were few and far between, and Donchenko was just doing so much better with his shot selection. His punching combinations, like I said, those leg kicks were a detriment to Morono. And unfortunately for Morono, he never really was able to get his grappling going because he never really got a good shot to go for the takedown. And so Donchenko, and even when he was able to get on bottom, but that's because Donchenko rocked him and hurt him, was able to amount to much. So I thought this was a pretty good showing for Danil Donchenko. Again, he's still just 24. I don't really need to see him rise up quickly. And, considering he wasn't able to finish Alex Morono, which, again, I can see some of the positives, but still it shows that he's a bit underprepared to say if he fights another elite level. Like, imagine if he fought, I don't know, Sam Patterson or something like that. I feel like he would get finished by Sam Patterson. So I think it makes sense. Just slowly build Danilo Donchenko. Don't need to rush. There's plenty of time. But that said, though, who he could fight next, I mean, there are a few. I mean, there's very few decisions for him I can think of. But I feel like maybe the next test for Donchenko, maybe if you want to be cruel, you could give him Nicholas Dalby, but I feel like Dalby would kind of just pressure him into oblivion. Although I guess maybe him versus Yoel Alvarez, that'd be a fun fight for sure. That'd be a absolute barn burner. Wait, or how? I guess maybe. Oh no. Yeah, I guess maybe I don't know. Matchmaking can be very tough when there aren't ranked contenders, just because you gotta remember all the roster. But still, I feel like maybe I guess Nicholas Dalby is the guy to pick. Like, again, seems a bit cruel, but maybe. Or he could fight the winner of Ramiz Brahimaz and Poliori Soriano. As for Alex Morono, I think he should also retire at this point. He has a lot of fights. And at this point, I just think he should retire. Or that's what I truly think. And nothing against him, but he's had a lot of fights. He's pretty old for the weight class, and he's on a pretty bad skid. It's like 4 losses in a row, I believe. So I think retirement. Moving up on the card. Dustin Jacoby defeats Julius Walker via TKO in the second round. This was our main card opener, I believe I said that. I gotta say, for the first round, I thought Julius Walker had a really good account of himself. He was able to pressure Jacoby along the fence, and while Jacoby had a few good jabs and leg kicks, I thought Walker showed incredible strength. Like, he was able to pick up Jacoby and actually do like a fireman's carry and then immediately dump him back. But I'll say this, Jacoby's MMA experience showed, because he did not accept bottom at all and immediately started to get back up. But boy, Walker was on him like white on rice. Had the tight waist, kneeing to the thigh, occasionally picking up Jacoby along the fence, putting him back down. Again, Jacoby would get back up almost immediately, but he was having a lot of trouble getting Walker off him. And again, Walker was able to end the round picking Jacoby up and just slamming him down. Then landed some elbows. Obviously, one was before the bell, but still, that was a great round by Julius Walker. And I guess definitely shows he's improving for sure. Then the second round hit, however, and Jacoby, you could see that veteran kickboxing experience come to play as Jacoby was able to pick his spots very nicely. Landed some very damaging calf kicks, but eventually it was the 1-2 he landed that really hurt Walker. Literally sent Walker back to the fence. And then there was a weird moment where it looked like Dan Miragliotta was stepping in to stop the fight, or at least that's what Jacoby thought. So he started to walk away, but then Walker grabs his leg, and it's clear that the fight was still going on, it seemed, because you didn't see Miragliotta wave it. Then so Jacoby lands an uppercut while Walker's on his fours, and Walker, credit to him, he tried to fight back even through the cobwebs. He eventually was trying to get Jacoby down, but eventually Jacoby just goes those Travis Brown elbows to the side of the head, and Walker just finished it there. I thought the fight should have stopped there, but it didn't. So Jacoby just had to keep wailing on Walker until he couldn't move no more. And eventually it led to the TKO. Again, I thought that fight should have been stopped a little bit early. I get it, give him every chance you can until you can't. But still, at the end of the day, I just thought a little bit unnecessary punishment. Still, though, this is a great win for Dustin Jacoby, who's now on a 3-fight win streak, all by knockout, all against guys who are definitely younger than him, and people who are trying to make a name off him, like Vitor Petrino, Bruno Lopez, and now Julius Walker. Obviously, it was short notice for both guys, but still. I thought this was great for Dustin Jacoby, and honestly, this might get him back into the rankings, or at least a shot at the rankings. Obviously, light heavyweight is kind of wide open, and you never really know how much it takes to get into the rankings. But still, I think Jacoby's earned a shot back in the rankings for sure. Now, he called for a fight on the White House. I don't see that happening, simply due to the fact is, if the reports I've read are right, we're only having 6 or 7 fights, and I can tell you that one of those will not be Dustin Jacoby. Unfortunate, but he's not that popular, or I think, to get on the White House. But that said, there's some great fights for him. I think a fight with Nikita Krylov might make sense, or if Alexander Rakic is still going to fight at light heavyweight, maybe him. Again, maybe that's a bit jumping up the gun, but to be fair, if you look at the other top from 11 to 15, right? He fought Alonzo Menifil, granted he lost. Ming Yang Zhang, that could be a fight. And Johnny Walker's already booked. So maybe if timelines work out, I say Nikita Krylov, and I honestly think Jacoby could crack that chin. Now, if they don't give him a shot at the rankings, then I just say rebook the Jim Crute fight. Because that fight made a lot of sense for both guys, and I still think with a rebooking, it would still make a lot of sense. And now, as for Julius Walker, this is a pretty rough loss for him, unfortunately, but I thought he did have a bit of a good account for himself. He definitely he tried to win, and he had great moments, like I said, specifically when he was lifting up Jacoby, showing that he has some incredible strength to him. But again, too much too soon, even with the short notice for both guys. That being said, I think that he can get some wins, and I think Ibo Aslan is a great next opponent for him. Both guys, now coming off loss, Aslan 2-fight loss streak, but I think that's the right step up. I think whoever loses might get the walking papers, but still, I think it's a smart move. One's got to go, one's got to stay. Hey, so I think Ibo Aslan makes the most sense. And so, though, I thought a great fight by both guys. Moving up on the card. Farid Basharat defeats Jean Matsumoto via split decision. So I had a lot of people, or I read a lot, like on Instagram, Reddit, blah, blah, blah. I saw a lot of people thought Matsumoto won. I was, I guess, a little surprised by that, to be honest, because obviously I think it's whoever won the second, because Basharat won the first for sure. I thought Matsumoto won the third. So I guess it really came down to who won the second round in my eyes. That being said, the way the fight played out was a little surprising to me, because I thought Basharat was going to be better on the ground, and I thought Matsumoto was going to be better on the feet. But instead, it kind of felt like the reverse, because Basharat had so many good striking moments in this fight. Good elbows that cut up the cheek of Matsumoto. His jabs, or his straight punches, were constantly turning Matsumoto's head. He couldn't miss with those. Thank you. And you can see those, Mullen Basharat lands a jab, Matsumoto's like this, right? Just that reactive moment you see when someone gets hit by a punch. And overall, I thought Basharat's just striking techniques were cleaner. Now, that being said, Matsumoto did better on the ground than I thought, because he was not only able to defend takedowns, he got more takedowns than I thought than Basharat. Specifically along the fence, able to pick Basharat up. That being said, oh my God, Basharat was cheating so much. It was driving me crazy. And I picked him to win too. Constantly grabbing the fence. There was a moment in the third where he illegally kneed John Matsumoto. It was driving me up a wall seeing it. I guess rules don't matter. It's great. It's so annoying, dude. It is so annoying. All the refs seemingly do is just yell at them. They don't do nothing. It drives me crazy. But still, I thought, like I said, Basharat won the first cleaner striking Pretty good at defending the takedowns, and overall, I think Matsumoto didn't really have anything to do in the first round. Second round was better. I thought Matsumoto had good takedowns, but I still thought Basharat edged him out in the striking. But then Basharat started to fade in the third, and he did the same with Gutierrez. And that's when Matsumoto, I thought, came alive and won the third round. Even when Basharat would land some good timed takedowns whenever Matsumoto was going for his combinations. So though, I thought it was 2-1 Basharat winning rounds 1 and 2. Again, second round is really comes down to, again, that was my personal opinion. Now, that said, like I said, I didn't like the cheating, but that said, Basharat, he's good. He's a good round winner. He knows how to win decisions. And now he's 15-0, undefeated in the UFC. He called for a shot at the top 15. Now, I'm not saying give him like someone in the top 10, like the about loser of Chito Vera and David Martinez. Not what I'm saying. But does he not deserve a shot at the ranking? Like I said, 15-0, 6-0 in the UFC. And I think he's live to beat some of the top 15. Like, I think he could beat a Kyler Phillips. I think he could beat Montel Jackson. Obviously, I don't think they give him like Payne Talbot, and Rob Font's already booked. I still think Basharat might deserve a shot at the rankings. I think him and Kyler Phillips make the most sense in terms of just, give him in the rankings. As, while I thought the fight was pretty good, and while, yes, maybe he shouldn't have won the fight, again, just some people's thoughts, I still think I still think Basharat did win the fight at the end of the day, and I do think he deserves a shot at the rankings. Now, as for Matsumoto, tough loss, but again, seemingly only loses these very close decisions. So for his next fight, I think him and Adrian Yanez would probably be the next matchup. That or Jonathan Martinez, like two former top 15 competitors, both probably definitely need to come up. Both of them, whether it's Yanez or Martinez, both of them coming off losses in need of a win. I think it makes sense. And besides, I think Matsumoto, showing how skilled he is, could definitely hold his own against them. So though, we'll see what the UFC does. Moving up on the card. Mikhail Olejniczak defeats Marc-Andre Barriault via unanimous decision. This was a pretty fun fight, I thought. I didn't think it was fight of the night. I actually thought it was the feature prelim that was the fight of the night for me. Still, though, this was a pretty good showing by Mikhail. As at least in the first round, I thought it was really good because he was spamming good leg kicks, whether they were inside or outside of Barriault's leg. Those left hands to the body were pretty good, and those some of the boxing combinations Mikhail landed, specifically his 1-2 down the pipe, were especially effective. And overall, in the first round, when it was just like tit for tat, shot for shot, definitely seemed three things. One, Mikhail was hit harder, I thought. Had the better accuracy, and Barriault was just a lot more defensive than offensive. Obviously, he had his moments like landing a few kicks and some counter punches, but overall, I thought Barriault was just more defensive than offensive. Then the second round, it's sort of the same. Mikhail is landing good straight punches, whether it's to the body, to the head, 1-2s, leg kicks. But then halfway through, Barriault changed up his strategy immediately, started pressing forward as it looks like Mikhail's getting tired. And then from there, Barriault does what he does best. Dirty boxing, that 50-50 clinch exchange, one collar tie, one overhook. And then starts firing elbows left and right. And you could see it cut up the head of Olejniczak. And then you could see the clinch was not Mikhail's friend in that fight. Constantly, Barriault was getting collar ties, the 50-50, elbows, knees, short range punches. But then in distance, it was much better for Mikhail. But at that point, it looked like Barriault had stolen round 2, just simply like having the momentum shift towards him and just landing those nasty elbows. And then from there, the corner, I thought for Mikhail, the Fighting Nerds did a great job telling what he needed to do, avoid the clinch at all times, as it was just not where he was just not winning. I was a little surprised they kept telling him to instead aim just for the head and not the body. I know Barriault was having a pretty good poker face, but still, I don't care how good you are, dude. Eventually, those body shots add up. So, though, Mikhail did more or less what his corner asked him. Obviously, there were times that were a little head scratching, like him going for a takedown in or two takedowns when I didn't really think he was gonna wrestle Barrio down to the ground, and lo and behold, he didn't really. He got like one in the first, but it didn't really do much with it. And then Barrio, like I said, he had his moments. He landed some good punches off the break of the clinch, in the clinch, or counter punching. But at the end of the day, Mikel won the third simply by having a bit more activity, a bit more accuracy, and I thought landed just with a bit more thud in his shots. Still, though, it was a tooth and nail fight, and I was quite surprised by the toughness in Barrio, as he had been chinned a few times in his last 5 fights, and I was a little nervous, especially because Mikel does hit hard. But hey, man, Barrio still showed his toughness. Unfortunately, though, this does make him now 1-4 still in his last 5. And as fun as Barrio is, and as good fights he does bring, this might be it for him. Because you think his only win right now is against Bruno Lopez, Silva, who's not in the UFC anymore. He was on a terrible win streak. I think this might be it for Barrio, unfortunately. I think this is going to be the walking papers. I think it is what it is, unfortunately. As for Mikel, he called for top 15. I don't think he gets it. I mean, he's on a nice 3-fight win streak. He since joined the Fighting Nerds, beating Cedric Dumas, Joe Mearshart, and now Marc-Andre Barrio. I still think he needs like 1 or 2 more wins if we're going to talk about him in the top 15. But I think the perfect matchup would be Kelvin Gastelum. Now, obviously, I don't know where the fuck Kelvin's at in his head or whatnot, especially after like how bad he missed weight against Stoltzfus last September. But I still think him versus Mikel would be a fun fight. Both guys are southpaws. Both have really good chins. Primarily boxers. I'd be curious to see how Mikel does the wrestling at Gastelum if Gastelum does decide to wrestle. And those body shots of Mikel could work in his favor. I think it'd be a good fight. If not, maybe a Marvin Vettori fight, which I think Mikel would win, but I wouldn't be confident in that pick. I'll say that for sure. There. So, though, good fight by both guys. Oh, God, do I have to? Moving up on the card. Rizvian Kuniev defeats Gelton Almeida via unanimous decision. This fight, oh God, it sucked the life out of me. I do not understand how this division is so damn bad. I truly don't. You literally have the number 6 ranked guy in the world against an unranked fighter. Now, granted, I know Almeida took it on short notice, wanting to stay active and probably because of punishment. But, oh my God. Most of this fight, about 90% of it, was Kuniev defending takedowns from Almeida, who really only shot takedowns once or twice in the first, and then never again throughout the fight. Kuniev was able to just pressure Almeida to the fence, rip some good elbows over top, some good knees to the body, and then when they were like in open space, I thought Kuniev landed some good jabs and crosses. But man, the amount of times those two had to be separated from the clinch because of inactivity was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, dude. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. How is it that the heavyweights are this bad? Like, truly, unless you are ranked 5 or above, right? You're Waldo Cortez Acosta, Curtis Blades, Sergey Pavlovich, Alexander Volkov, and Cyril Gane, and then Champion Aspinall. I don't know how they're all that bad. Their cardio sucks, and they just seemingly do not have good skills. Now, that said, Kuniev did a good job of playing to his strengths, right? Using his wrestling background, his Dagestani wrestling, to avoid getting taken down by Almeida, keep the fight upright, and then using the clinch to smother him, and then, like I said, landing those good short-range shots. I don't know, though, how Almeida was doing not only not able to take Kuniev down, but apparently when his takedowns failed, he just gave up for the rest of the fight. Like, literally, that's Almeida's whole game, is being able to land takedowns and then from there, top control. I don't know what happened to him. He was much more exciting during his run in the heavyweight division up until the Derek Lewis fight. And then even then, after that and the loss to Curtis Blades, he had won 2 straight. Both were entertaining. So, So I don't know what the hell happened to him. But I don't know, dude. that Volkov fight and now this fight, Almeida just is so anemic with his numbers. Even in a fight where he primarily stood up and had to strike, which, his striking is better technique wise. He at least throws better aesthetically pleasing strikes. It's still just so anemic. I don't know what it is. And then both of those, and then these two decide to point down to the ground. And I am so tired of fighters doing that. Not because, like, okay, Max Holloway's the only one, but people do not seem to understand why it's effective. It's effective when you're winning the fight, and then you point down to give them a chance to win this fight. It doesn't work if you're losing, and then you point down like, oh, come on, let's do it. Like, nah, I'm not giving you that chance. This fight was hair pulling, dude. Guys and gals, this fight was hair pulling. I'm losing brain cells talking about it. So though, where they go from here? Now Kuniev just beat Almeida, who's ranked number 6, so he's going to get a big boost in the rankings. I don't think he beats anyone in the top 5. I certainly don't think he beats Waldo. Curtis Blades beat him, albeit close and controversial decision. I think Pavlovich beats him, Volkov beats him, and Gon beat him. That said, I think he can beat a good portion of everyone ranked 7 and below. Like, do I think he can beat Sergey Spivak? Yes. Taliesin Teixeira? Yes. Shamil Gaziev? Yes. I think Kuniev, who is overall a well-traveled MMA veteran, has some good wins outside the UFC. I think he can beat a good portion of these people. So I would think for Kuniev, the winner of Sergey Spivak versus Ante Dalia would probably be the next fight. If at worst, or the winner of Marcin Tybura, Walter Walker, one of those two. And then as for Almeida, if he stays at heavyweight, man, he's beating nearly everybody. I guess Taliesin Teixeira, Taliesin Teixeira. I was thinking Shamil Gaziev, and that could work too, but maybe not find that low in the rankings. Or, you know what he should do? Probably go back down to light heavyweight. Granted, Almeida's better at heavyweight just because most of these guys can't grapple, but I don't know if he's not. I don't know if it's like his diet. I don't know what's happening, but ever since that loss to Blades, or I take it back, the fight to Lewis, it's just Almeida's not been the same. You can literally see in my hair, dude. It drives me crazy. So though, if he decides to stay at heavyweight, Taliesin Teixeira, I think it's the next step. Moving up on the card in our co-main event, Kyoji Horiguchi defeats Amir Albazi via unanimous decision. I personally scored it 30-27, and 2 of the judges did. One scored it 29-28. I suppose you could maybe give the first round to Albazi. I didn't, but I suppose that's who the judge gave it to. Boy, Kyoji Horiguchi is so damn good. He is so damn good. He made Albazi look so slow in there. And while the size difference was pretty laughable, like, this is a guy in Horiguchi who like has fought at bantamweight before. In fact, fought bantamweight for majority of his career outside the UFC, and he looks small in comparison to Albazi. Now, granted, Albazi is a big flyweight, probably cuts a lot to make the weight class, and in general, just a more physically enforcing fighter. It did not matter whatsoever, dude. Kyoji Horiguchi, he is so fast. He is so hard to pin down. And even at 35, he seemingly found the fountain of youth. He has not really aged whatsoever. He still has the same darting in and out speed he did, still the same accuracy, still the same shot selection. And his takedown defense has only improved. Like, Albazi could not get a takedown in whatsoever against Horiguchi. Not one. You saw the stats. He failed on all of his takedowns, which was insane. Because I thought maybe Albazi could get a takedown in because he is pretty strong and he is a good wrestler, but no, he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. Man, Kyoji is seemingly like whenever those two are in the clinch, and right, Albazi is pressing Horiguchi to the fence. Kyoji does a good job of not only breaking grips, but he's very good at darting one way and then backing out through the other to escape the clinch. That's seemingly what he did multiple times, right? You saw him like break the grip, turn left, and then bank right. Or the opposite, right? Go right, then bank and escape to the left. And then when they're in an open space, Albazi was a fish out of water. As Horiguchi's speed, specifically when he would dart in and hit the overhand right, those were the main shots that were hurting Albazi multiple times. You saw it multiple times. Albazi was on deer legs, especially in the third round where it looked like Horiguchi was nearly going to get him out of there. I was hoping, but apparently, you saw in the post-fight interview or like post-fight media, however you want to call it, Horiguchi admitted he broke his right hand in the first round. I guess that's why it wasn't maybe as impactful as it was like against Tagir, but still, the fact that Horiguchi was able to hurt Amir so many times in that fight just shows what speed and timing and precision can do when the power is not there, broken hand or not. Like he hurt Albazi so many times. People really got to remember, right? If you didn't watch the UFC in like the 2010s, right? If you started watching UFC in 2020s like I did, and then doing tape study on him, he has only lost to Demetrius Johnson in the UFC. He is now 9-1 in the promotion. And you could say what you want. Oh, but Patchy Mix beat him. Okay, so what? Patchy Mix during that Bellator one was great, and it was bantamweight, not flyweight. There is a difference, man. Here's the problem, though, with Horiguchi winning, right? He's now going to be probably number 6, right? But where does he go from here, right? We are essentially at now a 3-leg race, or actually 4-leg race for the title, right? Joshua Van obviously wants to be active. He wants to fight someone. I think he'll fight in April, if I had to guess. He has 4 challengers. Pantoja, when Pantoja is coming back, he is going to fight for that belt, obviously. But then you have Manel Kape, who's number 2, who spectacular knockout of Brandon Royval. Tatsuro Taira, who's number 3, who became the first man to finish Brandon Moreno. That should get you a title shot as well. And now you have Kyoji Horiguchi, who's 2-0 in the UFC, beating Tagir Ulanbekov and Amir Albazi. So it's very tough. I personally think now, depending on timelines, right? If Brandon Moreno defeats Lonnie Kavanaugh, then do Moreno versus Horiguchi as that would be a spectacular fight. The speed between those two would be absolutely spectacular. Horiguchi's in and out speed, his foot speed versus Moreno's hand speed and boxing combo. That'd be a beautiful fight to watch. But here's how I see it. I heard Pantoja is not going to be able to fight until the summer. I think Joshua Van's going to want to fight before then. If Van fights either Kape or Tatsuro Taira, the guy who isn't fighting for the belt should fight Horiguchi. Whether it's Manel Kape, that'd be a rematch from their fight in Rizin, or Tatsuro Taira, 2 prominent Japanese MMA or UFC fighters. I think either one of those, you get a delightful show to watch. Again, it really depends on who. I think it depends who gets the title shot, because once you see who gets the title shot, whether it's Pantoja, Kape, Taira, I feel like Horiguchi's on that last leg, because yes, he could fight for the title, but 2-fight win streak. Granted, impressive wins, but in comparison to Kape, who knocked out Royval, and Taira, who TKO'd Moreno, and then Pantoja, who should fight for the belt next because he was such a dominant champion. Unfortunately, I think Horiguchi is the run to the litter if we're talking title conversation. That's just how I see it. So, I think whoever gets the title shot will find out more than who Horiguchi can fight next. As for Albazi, this is a rough stretch, man. He got thoroughly whooped by Brandon Moreno. He now got thoroughly whooped in this fight, I thought. And, tons of fucking injuries have delayed him. Obviously, this isn't a terrible, terrible loss. Like, he didn't get finished. And he still showed heart. Albazi's tough for sure. I just, kind of shows he may not be as good as I thought he was. Or at least, granted, I picked Horiguchi against him. So I guess that was I say about me thinking of him. But still, there's still some fights. I think maybe Amir Albazi should fight Tim Elliott or Alex Perez. Those would be 2 good return fights for him. I think he could win those fights. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but I definitely think it's a possibility. So, though, great for Horiguchi. Great. Moving up, our main event. If you enjoyed this post-fight show, like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below on your thoughts and opinions on this card. I'd absolutely love to hear it. Now, back to our main event. Mario Bautista defeats Vinicius Oliveira via second round rear naked choke. Boy, Dude, Bautista. You want to talk about a fighter who's really good? Fucking Bautista. He is like his tattoo says, dude, battle ready. Dude, Bautista, I guess I should probably let me paint a picture, right? The first round, I was a little surprised by Oliveira's game plan. He went to the wrestling first and not Bautista. And had some moments like taking down Bautista. They didn't really go anywhere though for him. Eventually, it's Bautista who lands a much better takedowns, gets better top control. Oliveira tries to go for a heel hook, but you saw Bautista turn beautifully with it. And then I would say the best moments for Oliveira, were when he was on his back throwing those up kicks. Like those landed with pretty good accuracy and power. While Bautista, who was trying to fight the legs, would occasionally just swing downwards to the body. But eventually, Bautista is able to get on top, and then from there, rides out the round. Pretty good elbows, pretty good top pressure. And overall, I thought showing what I thought in this fight, he was going to be the superior grappler and wrestler. And then first round in, you see Oliveira sit in the corner waiting for the stool like, ugh. He looked like a kid who had been tired from running all day and needed to catch his breath. And I think I said it before in my prediction of this fight, but he fights Oliveira like a bantamweight Duplessis, right? They both seemingly tire out, but they fight through exhaustion well. They both fire lunging shots, odd combos that don't make sense. And while that style can work at middleweight, where attributes sometimes can outplay skills, in a division like bantamweight, though, where everyone is super technical, super well-rounded, and have great cardio, that is not going to fly at the elite level. You saw, right? Because immediately, second round, Bautista shows there are no holes in his game. He was able to land great striking combos on Oliveira. Specifically, Bautista is really good with those throwing a punch and then throwing a same side kick to the body. I think it was like specifically the jab and then a front kick to the body. Or sorry, I guess you could say just a body kick lead side. But specifically, oh my God, his wrestling was so good in this fight. Whether it was landing a blast double on Oliveira, getting the tight waist and then mat returning him constantly. At one point, I thought he was actually going to do a belly to back suplex. He didn't, but still. Bautista's mat returns were beautifully executed in this fight. And then when Oliveira breaks, he goes back into the clinch. He tries to take Bautista down, does get Bautista down, but you see, Bautista is very good at not accepting bottom position as he gets a butterfly hook in, immediately sweeps Oliveira and winds up back in full guard. And then from there, you see Bautista meticulously work to half guard, land some good elbows, works, and then gets to the crucifix. And then from there, constantly hammering in with elbows to Oliveira's face. And while Oliveira it definitely was already clear he was gassed by the end of the first and was getting tired in the second, he was still able to kind of buck and get Bautista off of him, or at least get Bautista out of crucifix. So then Bautista attacks a Kimura with about less than a minute in the round. And I thought Bautista was either A, going to get the Kimura, or two, kind of ride out the round in this way and win a pretty dominant round for him, I thought. But no, instead, Oliveira stands up, and then while Bautista, he still has the Kimura grip, spins around, catches the back, and then cinch up the rear naked choke. And in about 2 seconds after that choke, 1, 2, Oliveira taps. Oh my God, it was so good. I got some things to say about Mario Bautista, not just because I picked him, but I had said I thought Mario Bautista was the most underrated ranked contender in the bantamweight division. Like, you got to think, he gave Umar a run for his money. Much better than Figgy did, much better than Sandhagen did. And obviously Merab beat him, that's different. But still, if we're talking about Umar's wins, Bautista gave him the toughest. As Bautista didn't accept bottom, he made Umar struggle to get top position or any meaningful control. Umar had to be Merab essentially and just constantly go for takedowns. And even then, he got dropped by Bautista in their fight. And I feel like a consensus has happened, right? When I saw people's reaction. The consensus is how good Bautista really is, because there are no holes in his game. Absolutely none. He has great striking. He's got great grappling. He's got great wrestling. He is truly a jack of all trades. Now, obviously, he's not super great anywhere. Like, he's not this world-class striker or anything, but he's so good at mixing them up seamlessly. Very good at doing one thing that his opponents are weak at and then sticking to that. And he's got great cardio. He has absolutely phenomenal cardio. We've seen him go a hard 3 rounds and be the fresher guy in there. He didn't need it for 5. But I'm telling you, dude, if that went all 5 rounds, Oliveira was just going to get beat the fuck up. Bautista beat that ass, dude. He beat him up. Now, obviously, some people can go, all right, maybe I'm over exaggerating, right? But dude, it was a dominant win. It was about as flawless as a victory as I can think of, right? Obviously, Oliveira landed some shots, but none of them really did anything. In just about every aspect, I thought he lost. He lost the striking. He lost in the grappling and wrestling, clearly. I have nothing but kind things to say because, one, I thought Bautista, like I said, I think Bautista is underrated for the division. He's very good. He's very good. And I thought, okay, the Jose Aldo fight was boring. I'm not in disagreement with that. But I don't think one fight should determine how exciting you are throughout your entire career. I really don't. And at the end of the day, he did what he had to do to win. And it's not like all of his fights are like that. Like, watch the Ricky Simone fight. That's a really fun fight for me. Or watch watch the Sandhagen fight. Obviously, it was a loss, but still. Dude, Bautista has tuned up so good. He's 32, right? He's in his prime, and boy, does he look it. He looks... Here's the best way I can think of it. If you're ranked 6 or lower in the bantamweight division, I think Bautista can beat all of them. I think he beats Amin Zahabi. I think he beats Deiveson Figueiredo. Obviously, I'm definitely picking to beat Marlon Vera and David Martinez. I think he beats most of these guys. And so for me, I just think what a great showing. Now, as for Vinicius Oliveira, this was a bad loss, dude. He got exposed pretty badly. If there's one thing, if to play devil's advocate, right? If there's one thing I can say, I think Oliveira cuts way too much weight. He has said, right, he cuts about 50 pounds to make the weight. Dude, if he's cutting 50 pounds and he walks around the 180s, he's about the same size as most lightweights. And he's cutting the 135. I honestly think Oliveira should move up to featherweight at this point. I mean, if he's cutting that much weight and you see it affect his cardio that badly, I really think 145 would be a better weight class for him. But even then, he has some holes, right? Again, that wild, awkward style, it works to a certain degree, but against the absolute elite, against not just a more talent stack weight class, but a weight class that really rewards technique and cardio and just well-roundedness, I just think Oliveira's style is not going to get him to the top, unfortunately. Now, who they should fight next? Bautista called for Sandhagen, or a rematch with Corey Sandhagen. I think he should get that fight. If he can't, though, let's say they actually do book Sean O'Malley versus Corey Sandhagen for the White House. I hope they do, but if they don't, right, then it's Bautista Sandhagen. But if they do, I think Bautista versus Figgy would make the most sense. I know someone in the top 5, like Song Yadong as well. It's tough. If Sandhagen's fighting O'Malley, then I think it will be Bautista versus either Song Yadong or Deiveson Figueiredo. But if it's not, I definitely think a Corey Sandhagen rematch is fair. As for Oliveira, if he stays at bantamweight, he could fight, I would say, the winner of Rob Font versus Raul Rosas Jr. Or if he moves up to featherweight, I think he should fight the loser of Dan Ige versus Maquizio Acosta. I think those two. But with that said, that has been my post-fight show for UFC Vegas 113. If you enjoyed the video, like I said, like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below on your opinion of the card. And overall, what you thought was your favorite fight. You know, that's the kind of stuff. What was your favorite performance? And overall, what did you think of the fight card as a whole? With that said, though, I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. I thank you all for listening. And remember, stay calm, stay respectful, and enjoy the violence. I'll see y'all next time.